Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the deluxe class Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Shadow Panther. So as we always do, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging and bring it in for its close-up. So right up at the top, you've got Shadow Panther. Down here, you have some nice artwork. Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron. Transformers up the side. You have that Kingdom artwork on the side right there. On the back, you have your product shots. So you see him in both of his modes. He converts in 20 steps. And you have all your warnings down here. And you have the Shadow Sad Baby. Over here on that quarter panel, you have the robot artwork. That looks really cool. He has a deluxe class. And when you look at it at an angle, you can see both of those at the same time. Up top, War for Cybertron K31. Down low, manufacturing information. So that is it for the packaging. Let's go ahead and see what came inside that box. And laid out here for your viewing pleasure is everything that came inside that box. And we'll start as we always do with the little sheet of warnings. And you do get your collector's card / sticker. This is another Black Arachnia. I think by now we've all seen plenty of those. And you get your sheet of instructions. And the only accessory that he comes with is his tail. So we'll take a look at that right now and get a good look at it. So for those of you who have the War for Cybertron Kingdom Cheetor, this is going to look very familiar, just laid out in some different colors. So instead of that yellow, molded in that yellow with those cheetah paint apps, this is a black molded tail with some silver on there. I think it looks pretty good. All right, and that's it as far as everything that came inside that box, except for the Panther himself. So we will bring him in for his close-up now. Now, before we bring Shadow Panther in for his close-up and start talking about those details on articulation, it's just worth noting real quickly that this is a remold of the War for Cybertron Kingdom Cheetor. So for those of you who have Cheetor, there's not going to be anything here that surprises you. The only changes, for the most part, are cosmetic. So different molded plastic colors, different paint apps. The only thing that's truly different is that head sculpt. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring him in and take a look at this guy. I do like what they've done here with him. So he is different enough from Cheetor that I don't really think of him as just a clone. So let's bring him in and take a look at that head sculpt, which I just absolutely love this head sculpt. It looks so alien and bizarre, and it is reminiscent of the mutant masks for the Beast Wars. So I think this thing just, those big old black bug eyes, I love them. All right, coming on down to that chest. Got a big old Panther chest, and who wouldn't want one of those? Nice sculpting all the way across there. And molded in detail down here in that cod piece. I do really enjoy the silver that they used here. Details in those upper thighs. And coming down to those legs. Again, nice use of the silver paint applications. Really makes this figure pop. Not much going on the insides of the legs. And then he's got those tiny silver feet. Coming up to the side of the legs here. Got a whole lot of Panther leg happening. So we'll see that in Panther mode as well. Up underneath. Not much going on. And when you look at these arms, little bit of detail going on there. The hands are what they are. And nice silver on those forearms. And then the yellow up here on the shoulders. And you turn him around to the back, and it's a lot of Panther hanging off everywhere. So do with these what you will. You can do a few different things. I mean, if you want to go with the traditional crossed style, you could do that. If you just want them hanging down. If you want them up, whatever you want to do, it's your choice. All right, so not a whole lot going on back here. He does have some hollow areas down here, but this is a deluxe class figure, so you can't expect miracles. Would have been nice if they would have had some kind of a panel or a cover there, but dealing with the price point we are, I can live with it. Besides, this is where his feet tuck away, the robot feet tuck away in Panther mode. So not really that big of a deal for me. Now, as far as articulation goes, for the head, you're not really going to get anything side to side. You're going to get maybe a tick down, and then you can get way up on this guy. You can go all the way around if you want to do so. On these shoulders, just keeping in mind that you have this whole slab of Panther side that's going to get in your way. You could, in theory, take these all the way around, but as it stands right now, you get about that far up and about that far back before you start running into stuff. And if he wants to raise his hand, he can raise his hand up pretty darn high. So good stuff there. You do get over 90 at the elbow. And then for the bicep rotation, you can go all the way around on that. And then down here at the wrist, you do get wrist rotation. And for the waist, you get waist rotations. You could go all the way around as far as you want to go with this guy. And at the hips, it's a disappointing amount of split for a cat. I mean, I thought cats were supposed to be more flexible. So, I mean, it's plenty enough to get a good pose, but would have been nice to have more. It's always nice to have more though, right? And kicking forward, he can kick forward that far. And he kicks backward this far before you have to start bringing his leg out. And what I mean by that is you just got this piece back here. So if you try to bring his leg straight back, he's going to run into himself. You start bringing the leg out and you can get it around it a little bit. You do get thigh rotation just above the knee. So you can take those all the way around if you choose to do so. You get under 90 at the knee. So that's a bit of a disappointing knee bend. And then down here at the feet, you can bring those feet up that far and back that far before you just start tucking them away into that hollow area. And then as far as ankle tilt goes, you get just a tick out, and then in you get a pretty significant amount, and it is enough that you can put this guy in a pretty cool position. So, oh, stand, it's too cool. There we go, center of gravity. Oh, he's down. Let's try it again. Do it. Oh, there you go. I don't know, I just feel like he's going to be dancing with Michael Jackson in Thriller at this point. So anyway, articulation is okay on this guy. It's nothing too amazing, but you'll get him in the poses that you want to get him in. So what we'll do now, we're not going to do transformation in this video, simply because it's the exact same transformation as the War for Cybertron Cheetor. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description back to that video, so if you need to see the transformation on getting this guy from one mode to the other, reference that video. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into the Panther mode, and we'll look at his details in Panther mode, and then we'll get into those Panther comparisons. And here is Shadow Panther in his alt mode, that Panther mode, and much like Cheetor before him, for this mold, I think that they've done a great job here in taking a robot and turning that robot into a cat. I think it turned out looking really good. So let's go ahead and bring him in for the close-up and get a nice look at this guy. So we'll start right up here with that head. And you do have those red eyes. You wouldn't want those looking at you through the shadows. And he's got his little mouth down there. We need to open that up. And you can see that he does have some toothy detail there. Now, it would have been nice if they could have painted these so that way you could have a little bit of differentiation from all that black. But I think as far as the molding goes, it looks really good. Even the texturing there in the ear. And coming over here to the side, same thing. It looks lean and muscular and very intimidating if you saw this thing coming at you. So, job well done there. Really, the only thing from the side that you would see that would, really make you say, hey, wait a minute, is just the tips of his toes here and from the robot mode. But yeah, I think for the most part, turns out looking pretty good. Now, pay no mind to what's going on back here, and then it all kind of falls apart once you start peeking in there, but you really shouldn't be doing that to any animal anyway, because that's just plain rude. And I'm gonna twist his hand back around. There we go. That's better. So there he is from the right side. And even looking at these little claws, much like the teeth, would have been nice if they would have painted the tips of those claws. I think that would have really set it off. But down low, kind of like looking from behind, kind of falls apart a little bit there. You can see those fists just hanging out, but I guess with a really vivid imagination, you could pretend those are something other than fists. So that's totally your call. Leave that up to you guys. But yeah, there he is in his Panther mode, and I think he looks pretty good. So I have no real complaints about this alt mode. Much like Cheetor, I think that they did a really good job with this. So we'll go ahead and bring in some alt mode comparisons now so you can see how he scales up to some of the other figures out there. Alright, so our first alt mode comparison is going to be with this thing right there because he is incredibly unstable and really hard to keep him upright. So this is my generic knockoff version of G1 Ravage, so you can see how Shadow Panther compares there. And since we're talking Ravages, this is the Ravage from the Studio Series that came with the Studio Series Grindor. Our next comparison is Age of Extinction Scorn because, hey, why not? Next comparison is Headmaster Weird Wolf. And our final comparison is the most relevant. This is the War for Cybertron Kingdom Cheetor. So these two are mold mates. Everything in this mode is exactly the same except for the color of the plastic that was molded and the paint apps. So we'll do a quick couple views here of these two guys so you can see just how similar they are, yet with those different colored paint and different colored or different molded plastics, how different they look to each other. Here they are coming right at you. Here they are butt to butt or tail to tail. Here's the view you would see if they were both running away from you. And here they are having a staring competition. Spoiler alert, nobody's going to win this one. Neither one of them have eyelids. Alright, that's it for the alt mode comparison, so let's go ahead and transform him back into his bot mode and do some comparisons there. So for our first bot mode comparison, here we see Shadow Panther next to the Shockwave figure that we got when the Dark of the Moon Bayverse film was released. So this isn't the Studio Series, this is just the original figure that was released for that movie. Here he is next to the Voyager class War for Cybertron Kingdom Dinobot. Here he is next to the Kingdom / Earthrise Leader class Optimus Prime. Our next comparison is Shadow Panther next to the Transformers Red R.E.D. Cheetor. And our final robot mode comparison is also our most relevant. On the left you have the War for Cybertron Kingdom Shadow Panther. On the right you have the War for Cybertron Kingdom Cheetor. And other than those head sculpts, everything is the same on these, minus the use of different colored plastic and different paint apps. But as far as molded geometry goes, everything else on these two figures is exactly the same. Here they are face to face. From the back. And back to back. That wraps up the robot mode comparison, so let's go ahead and jump into those final thoughts. Alright everybody, so let's go ahead and talk about those final thoughts on the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Deluxe Class Shadow Panther. And keep in mind as I go through these, all of my scoring for my 5 major key points on these figures. The scoring here is based on the fact that this is a $20 deluxe class. So just keep that in mind as we go through these key points. Starting with the first one, the aesthetics or the overall look of this figure. Again, keeping in mind that this is a deluxe class, I think for the most part that this figure looks really good. The molding looks nice. That silver just makes the figure pop. I think it really does a good job using the paint apps and the molded plastic color to set it apart from its mold mate, which is Cheetor. So for the most part, I think this figure looks really well done. It looks good on the shelf. So for aesthetics, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. As far as a wish list goes, it would have been nice if they would have had some paint apps on those teeth and toes in the Panther mode, but beyond that, everything is pretty good. Now, moving on to the articulation, I am going to ding him a little bit on articulation, just simply because of the limited shoulder and hip movement. So this guy has really limited movement, in my opinion, in those hips. It's not enough to hinder it, per se, from getting in some nice dynamic poses, but it would have been nice to have some more hip movement, particularly in the back, to be able to kick those legs back. Also for those shoulders, because you've got those big pieces of Panther right behind his shoulders, it makes it difficult to get those arms back in a dynamic pose as well. So that really limits him. And frankly, he suffers from the same thing that Cheetor does in those tiny feet. The tiny feet just really makes it difficult to balance this guy and get a nice center of gravity dynamic pose. So articulation's a little low on this guy. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 on that. Now, as far as the accessories go, I'm going to ding him pretty hard on this too, and it's the same thing that I feel with the Cheetor figure. Really, his accessory is his tail. That's it. There's no gut gun. There's nothing related to the gut gun. He has limited to no effects compatibility, whereas every other figure in the War for Cybertron trilogy does. So really disappointed in those accessories in this figure. Also in the Cheetor figure, of course. So I'm giving him a 5 out of 10 on accessories. I think this is just sad. His accessory is so bad. He's holding it. I didn't even bother to cover it in this review because, well, you stick it in his hand and there you go. So pretty disappointed in that overall. On the plus side, the overall quality out of the box for this figure, it's great. He came with everything he was supposed to, which was that tail. And the paint apps look good. There are no issues with molding. Fit and finish is very well done on this figure. All the joints are tight. So I have no real complaints as far as quality goes. The only thing that I could say was I think over time, those tiny feet, the ankles have a potential of getting loose over time, which is slightly concerning, but not enough to be detrimental to this. So as far as quality goes, I'm giving this guy a 9 out of 10 for quality. Which brings us to our last point, is the overall value. I don't know if there's a lot here, guys. I mean, this is a copy and paste of Cheetor with a different head sculpt. Cheetor, that mold, it's not the best mold in the world anyway. It has its flaws, which we just discussed, and this is, as Hasbro does, we all know, Hasbro and Takara, this is a blatant money grab where they just repaint, remold an existing design and slap a new name on it and people go out and buy it. So I'm not going to give him high marks here for the value. The best I can give him, because of the overall aesthetics, is a 7 out of 10 for value. I just think even at $20, I think that this is kind of a hard pill to swallow. So that gives the Shadow Panther figure a total of 36 points out of a possible 50, which gives him an overall 72%. So my final verdict on this is really, if you have Cheetor and you love him, well, you know what you're going to get here. But if you have Cheetor and you're not all that excited about Cheetor, maybe you save your money and go buy something else with that $20. So with that being said, last thing I'll say is I did pick this guy up at a local Walmart. He was on the shelf, found him out in the wild for $20 US. So for those of you who are looking for this figure, happy hunting. And if you're not looking for this figure, I completely understand. So with that being said, that's going to wrap the review up. I hope this helps you make an informed decision on whether or not you want to move forward with this figure. And if you decide not to move forward with this figure, at the very least, I hope this review was informative and entertaining for you. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and leave some comments. Let us know what you think. And until we see you guys in the next review, take care.